All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 45 of the Paddy and the Yank podcast. Paddy, what's happening?
Not a lot. I'm sitting here in the spaceship with you and just had some steak and eggs for breakfast because I hit the gym pretty hard again yesterday.
Envious.
Yeah.
Not of hitting the gym hard. I did that too.
All right, it doesn't happen often. I don't usually have steak and eggs for breakfast, but today I did. And
ladies and gentlemen, you should have steak and eggs for breakfast.
if you train like an animal like I do.
Celebrate your mornings, right?
So yeah. Just for new listeners to the podcast, at the end of each episode, we like to feature original music from various artists around the world. We've had a lot of good stuff sent in to us. This is episode 45, and we've featured quite a good array of different types of music and musicians. And so if you want to hear something original and cool, check out the end of the podcast. And today I think we got a song from Ninja Ned. It's an instrumental. So yeah, hang about for that. Yank, I want to ask you a quick question. So this is episode 45.
Hold on, I'm getting intimidated. Is this like a religious question?
Would these put me down kind of... No, I wouldn't go there. It's too early in the morning for that kind of talk, that kind of a debate. But now you always do the intro to the podcast, which I love, and you always ask me how I am or how I'm doing. So I never ask you that question. So, Yank, how are you doing today?
Walk this way, talk this way. I feel like Steven Tyler.
All right. So
how you doing? Fucking terrible week. I had a really bad week.
Okay.
And I'm fucking great. I couldn't feel better right now.
Okay.
But I do feel vulnerable right now. Oh, man. Last week, as you know, was what?
Halloween. Or, as they say in Ireland, come on, Yank, you must be able to pronounce it now.
Ihahaula.
Ah, so
damn
close.
it!
So close.
I felt like I was saying it right.
I give you two more. I give you two more attempts. That was very close.
Ihahaula. 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 Oh, I don't know.
You're so close. If this was life and death, I'd be like, I'm sorry, but
Ihahaula. Ihahaula.
Ihahauna.
Ihahauna. Damn, I was so close. Ihahauna.
Ihahauna.
Other people are trying to say it at home now, too.
Yeah, say it. Ihahauna.
Ihahauna. The way you say it, I want to chant half naked on a beach in New Zealand.
I know, yeah, that gives you those vibes.
Yeah,
the Celts or the Druids or whoever it was that used to celebrate this, they probably done that around fires, rituals, Ihahauna.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just talking shit. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Somebody
that would
out
be
there,
pretty cool.
Yeah, some Irish person out there might
cool.
know more about it than me.
I saw something about vampires buried in Ireland the other day.
Really?
We'll get there.
Shit,
Probably
okay.
not today, but we'll get there.
Right.
Yeah, so we had Halloween, and I went to a Halloween party, which was crazy.
From what I heard,
it's
it's
a
pretty
fucking
wild.
circus.
Yeah.
It's all it is a fucking circus. I'm not trying to refrain from cussing during this episode.
Okay.
So fuck off. It was crazy. It was a circus, just wild fucking animals running around. I got there quite early, ran into some beautiful, beautiful people. Which is cool and also a new experience for me because since I met you, I've gone into isolation.
Okay.
And part of that was due to COVID.
Okay.
And maybe COVID was what started it. And actually, 1 year ago on Halloween was when I broke my ribs and I started crying and you told me to stop crying and fucking do something.
I gave you the back of my hand once or twice, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you even spanked me one night when we were drinking.
That wasn't me. That must have been someone else. I don't spank or drink.
They smelled like you.
You capture somebody, you're like, put it on. It's like, but it's a sweaty t-shirt. Put it on. Now you smells like him.
Rub it on gently.
So I want to ask you a quick question. Where was this party located? Because from my knowledge, it's on a fucking mountain somewhere.
The same place the party last year was located, which is Tiger Mountain, not too far from here. We have a whole group of mountains in central Taipei, kind of on the outskirts of Taipei, but still in like right here. Tiger Mountain, Elephant Mountain, I think Nangang Mountain, and there might be another mountain. And together, I believe they're called Sishou Shan. Shan is mountain. So it's on Tiger Mountain, and you got to walk up this long incline road before finally arriving to the party. And you walk in, and it's extremely loud music, and everybody's dressed up as whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Last year, at that party, I broke my ribs. I could no longer box. I got really depressed. You said, why don't you write a book?
Yeah.
I said, okay. I don't think the conversation was quite that easy. But I started it.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most therapeutic processes of my life, and my goal was to finish it in 1 year, and it is totally finished, and it's going to go out soon. And it helped me deal with a lot of pain and suffering. And after Halloween, I couldn't exercise because I broke my ribs. COVID started shortly after that, went into isolation, and then I learned how to develop a lifestyle as a hermit living in solitude. So to speak, I still saw you, I still saw Ned sometimes, but I didn't see a lot of people, and I totally lost the social aspect of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not the only one.
I've turned my back on that. Not completely antisocial.
Turned my back on society.
I mean, some people would consider me to be antisocial because it's like, why don't you go out and make some more friends? And it's like, what the fuck do you mean make some more friends? The friends I have are solid, and I see them when I want to see them, and they see me when they want to see me. And it's like, if you can count your friends on one hand, you've probably got 5 good friends. If you're like I'm friends with everybody. All these people that want to be friends with everybody, it's like, they're not really your friends. Like, do you know what I mean? I have people I could call up, and it's like, literally land at their door and be like, I have a dead body in my trunk, I need help. They'd be like, did anyone see you come here? No, get in. You know what I mean? I have people, I know I have friends like that. You know what I mean? And I would be the same for them. So it's like, I can talk to anybody. I could talk to the fucking wall. You know what I mean? It's just that I decide not to. It's like I pick and choose very carefully of who I associate with or who I hang out with.
You decide not to talk to the wall?
Well, sometimes I do.
Yeah. I was talking to myself this morning when I was doing my Wim Hof.
I'm perfectly comfortable by myself. Perfectly comfortable by myself. But I also like the company of other people as well. You know what I mean? It's I'm an introspective. I'm an introverted extrovert, and that's the way it is. So, that's it. I choose.
I think, if you feel like you're being served and you don't feel lonely,
not at all.
Obviously, what you're doing is serving you.
I don't think I've ever felt lonely in my entire life.
I think I have, but I didn't know it. No, that's what it was. I think I was misperceiving a feeling, and I think I was also using substances and activities both to not feel it. Even watching movies, perhaps at times, to ignore my loneliness.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I'll give you an example. Right, I'll give you a small example. Let's say, right, you threw a barbecue last Saturday. I think it was, right?
I don't. Ned just came over.
Okay,
because we pre-gamed for the party. We did an ice bath.
Yeah. So let's say you had a few people over at your house, right? I came and recorded the podcast with you in the morning. I was like, oh man, I'm heading home. I'm going to blah blah blah, do whatever. For not one moment did I think, oh, am I missing out on something there? Am I missing? Like, should I be there? Do I need?
FOMO.
I don't get that feeling. It's just like, okay, cool. I'm doing my shit here at home. I'm happy and content. When I was younger, growing up. And it's like my friends would have been out on a Friday, and for some reason I couldn't have made it out on the Friday. I would have felt like, no, I missed out on something. No. Oh, damn, now I'm not in on this joke, or I missed out on that. Or I would have got that feeling growing up as a teenager and stuff like that. But at a certain age, I was like, what? I don't give a damn. It doesn't mean, I never feel like I'm missing out on something by not being somewhere with people that are doing something that I'm just fine with.
That's a feeling of the youth, right?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, for me, I guess it was. Yeah. You know.
I don't think I have that feeling much anymore, but I remember when it was strong.
Yep.
It almost feels like it was strongest during puberty, but then not really. It was more like a 25 to 30 maybe for me.
For me, it was much earlier than that.
Earlier.
Yeah, like I'd say my teens, my early teens to my late teens. That's when I felt that. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, you clearly matured much earlier than I.
I hear that a lot of people, but I don't know what that means. It's like it's just I don't know. Choose your own path. Choose what works for you and what you know what I mean. It's like,
but at the same time, there are different kinds of maturity. There are so many different kinds of maturity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even in terms of strictly emotional maturity, I think there are many different kinds. Or maybe wisdom. If wisdom were to be a form of maturity, and patience and trust were to be forms of maturity, we would all be at different, like if it was a race, so to speak, we'd all be at different levels. You know what I mean? In terms of patience, maybe there's 5 levels. Trust, there's 5 levels. Wisdom, there's 5 levels. Self-love, there might be 5 levels. Sorry, I wasn't even trying to go there, but I think good. I think it makes sense.
Well, there's on the topic of loneliness and people feeling like they can't be alone. It's like, I would definitely know some people that are like, they just cannot spend time by themselves. They can't. A lot of the times I find that these people don't have, let's say, for the most part, these people aren't creative people. Mm-hmm. They don't write.
Right.
They're not big into reading.
I know somebody.
They
like
don't. They don't seem to be creative people, and I've always associated that with, well, what do I do when I'm by myself?
Mm-hmm.
I read, I write, I play the guitar. I think of scenarios and write them as like scripts or sketches or different things like that. You know what I mean? I usually do something that's like I'm entertaining.
I think about different possible scenarios in which the world could come to an end.
Sitting at home, they're just prepping, writing. It's all going to end.
And this is what I'm gonna do.
So I don't feel lonely. But imagine take for instance somebody that has no hobbies or has no passions that you can do by yourself, and they're sitting at home by themselves. And they're just like going, I have nothing to do. I have nothing to do. There's no one around me to talk to. I can see how they could feel lonely or feel like they need to be doing something or they're missing out on something. Well, I don't get that. I write, I read, I do stuff, and this satisfies me.
Everybody really has hobbies, though, right? It's just maybe some people are it's too hard for them to self-motivate themselves to do it.
Well, a hobby or a passion.
Yeah.
Hobbies are some people force themselves.
Passion might be different.
A lot of people I know, especially over here, they force themselves to do activities because they feel that they don't have enough hobbies or passions.
Like
for
go
me,
to the gym and play on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's like reading a book for me is not a hobby; it's a passion. When I read it, I'm like, fuck, and I'm in that world. Or if I'm writing a short story, or if I'm writing a script or a sketch or anything like this, it's like I'm completely it's a passion. It's just like you can get into that flow state where time doesn't even. It's like, fuck, I've been writing for 2 hours. Oh my god, what the hell? What did I even write? You know what I mean? Sometimes that happens to me. And
we were just out on the balcony talking about books.
Yep.
And that book I was reading, The Dream of the Celt, was huge. It's good. It's historical. It's informative. But it started feeling like a job. And I lost my passion for reading because, I don't know, it's just like, I just told you, what did I tell you I needed outside?
a good, gritty, I don't know.
I didn't use the word gritty.
No, I use gritty.
But I said I needed a book that would invigorate me.
Yeah, that's what you said.
And that's the same thing I experienced at the Halloween party.
okay.
And the reason I felt that was because there's been something missing in my life, and I didn't even know what it was, and it was people.
Yeah.
It was people. It was like connections with people. And now, you were talking about FOMO a minute ago, and I don't really feel
I never
FOMO.
said the word FOMO. I don't know what that
I
means.
said FOMO. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but you were kind of talking about the feeling of feeling like you're missing out on something.
Okay.
And some people feel that. Some people feel that, right?
They call that FOMO?
Like the general public. The general public. But like the fear that you're missing out on some good time.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really have that. And most of the time, I don't really get depressed. I don't really feel sad. Actually, it's more like I'm anxious to get all my shit done in one day or something like that. Don't want to lie, but I honestly think that's the feeling.
Yeah.
And at the Halloween party, man, I felt fucking connected. And it wasn't just the Halloween party. I went to another party.
Or the drugs.
Yeah. But like reconnecting after such a long period of isolation.
Yeah.
I'm a social butterfly, dude. That's who I am.
I can feel that. I get that off you.
And I've been like essentially chained up. Recently, I've been calling myself a wild tiger more than a butterfly.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little bit of both. I'm a tiger fly.
He's a tiger fly.
That's gonna be my band name.
Flying high.
But I went out there and I connected, and I remember at one point I was like, man, I've done my job. I can go home now. Like I was walking. I've been to many shows, right?
Yeah.
The Dead and all kinds of different hippie shows, and I've seen people get fucked up on a wealth of different substances, and I've seen a lot of different freakouts. I've freaked out many different times in many different ways. And I was walking at this one point with no particular goal or purpose in mind, just strolling around looking like a fucking clown.
Yeah.
And this girl in front of me just bends over right in front of me. And so I just started... No, I'm joking.
What?
She bent over right in front of me, and I was like, oh, no. And I kind of walked around, and everybody else just kept walking around, and I realized she was vomiting. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And I kind of grabbed her by the hips and was like holding her, and I was trying to steer her off the path as quickly as possible. And I kind of tried to pull her over, but then unfortunately it was like a huge pile of mud. It was okay. I found her a rock. I was like, sit down. Are you okay? She's like, I'm like, all right, just sit down. I'll be right back. I had these like huge boots on. And I like sprint across the stage area and all stuff, buy 2 bottles of water, sprint back. By the time I got back, she was fine. It took quite some time to get the damn water. And I gave her the water.
Yeah.
I was like, you all right? And she's like, yeah, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was like, no problem, no problem. And she's like, don't I know you? I'm like, no, I don't know you. And she's like, no, I know you. We were just talking a little bit ago. And I'm like, were we? She's like, yeah, me and your friend Dan were talking and you came up. I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know I knew you. I was just doing it because, like, that's what you do.
Yeah.
if you see somebody in pain, that's what you do. And I know that puking is such a horrible feeling. And so I just immediately went to like instinct, went to action. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to see anybody suffering.
I would have robbed her shoes and her handbag. But what? I mean,
cultural differences.
I'm joking.
Never trust the Irish.
It's a cultural difference here, my lady. I'm only joking. No, I understand. That's. Yep.
And then something even more interesting happened later. I went back to my table, and one of my friend's girlfriends was fucking losing her shit. And I won't name any names, obviously, which doesn't even matter.
Yep.
And people were trying to calm her down, and nobody could calm her down. And
she'd like ingested something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it appeared to be a bad trip.
Oh, okay.
I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. Blah 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 blah. I want to die.
Hell.
I was like, everybody back away. I got this.
Yeah.
I didn't say it like that, but I kind of did that.
Just grabbed her by the shoulder instead of shaking her. Bitch, you better snap out of it right now. Slap, slap. Hey, what are you doing?
She's trying to like fall on the ground, and it was raining pretty heavy that night, and there was like mud, and she's trying to fall on the ground, can't sit, can't stand, can't talk, eyes can't concentrate. And I kind of was like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay, you're okay. What do you need right now? What do you need? She's like, I don't know. I just want to die. I'm like, all right. Breathe in 1. Breathe out 2.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's like fucking DJs playing really loud, crazy electronic music behind me. And I got her meditating. And then I got her talking. And then I asked her what she needed. I realized she needed attention. She needed to feel noticed. She needed to feel loved. That's what it was. And when you get really, really, really high, man, it's a very scary thing sometimes, depending on where you are, what state you're in, and who you're with.
Hey, that's exactly it. Environment.
You can totally fucking freak out.
Yeah, environment, state of mind, and company that you're in.
They call it they call it set and setting, right? And she wasn't feeling very loved. And so I sat there and I meditated with her, and I did a couple breath holds with her, and then I started dancing. I changed the subject, and the people around were watching. And this dude came up and sat down next to her and put her arm around her, and she went right back to, I just want to die. I just want to die. I just want to die. And I was like, bro, I need you to go away right now. I could tell, like, what she was doing, she saw another chance for attention, right? And I was like, bro, you have to go away. And I pulled her back in. And I did the whole thing again. But then I got her focused, and then we stood up, and then we all tried to dance. She kept like almost falling down, and I just held her, and I was like, all right, we're going to squat. All right, we're going to squat over here. All right, we're going to do this, and just got the focus. And you got to utilize that. There's a need. And there's also what we talked about recently, I believe, with Don Malari, which is the fight or flight mode, and what it is that causes anxiety. And the cause of anxiety is when your body is in fight or flight mode, and you don't fight and you don't flight, and that transforms into anxiety.
Yeah, that's correct.
And the only way to get that anxiety out is through action.
Yes.
Right. So I got her up and we started dancing. Boom. Yeah. She's pretty much good. It kind of like snapped her out of the situation.
Okay, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever out one night and you experience a bad trip or anything like this, we have a number you can call. It's the Yank's personal phone number. You can call him like Batman. Just put like the Yank sign up there on the light, and he will come to your aid.
If you really need to, you can message. You can message the Paddy Yank account on Facebook. I'll reply. I will.
The Yank will reply. He's got a lot of experience in this field. I can tell you that.
Or send us an email if you have a friend that did that or can't recover from it. Can't recover from the trauma from it. Yeah. That can even be dealt with. And even the situation I was just talking about, I really want to follow it up because it did bring something out. Yep. And why did I know what to do? Because I've done that. Yep. I felt that way. When I looked in her eyes, I knew what she was going through because I felt it so many times.
Yeah.
And at that point, you have to drop everything you're doing and serve that person.
Sometimes it takes you to have worn those shoes to be able to put yourself in the shoes of another person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like to feel that empathy or to know, I know what they're going through. I know what they're feeling because I have been in that situation before. Then you're more proactive, right, than somebody that hasn't. Somebody that's just walking past, that's a stone cold sober Stephen, and looks at it and goes, look at the fucking state of that one, or Jesus, whatever. Or, you know what I mean?
She's freaking out. I don't want it to ruin my night.
Yes, exactly. Their lack of empathy can come from them not experiencing that before, whereas you've had these experiences before. You've been around people like that before, so you know, oh man, I know she's not having a good time here. I know what kind of a buzz she's on. I can help.
Right,
you know
right,
what I mean? So
right.
Through you wearing those shoes before, you could put yourself in her shoes and
empathy.
Show more empathy.
I think a lot of that is the result of teaching babies, man. I was
Really?
telling you that earlier.
Yeah.
They hold me emotionally accountable. For a long time, you've held me physically accountable, right? Am I gaining weight?
Yeah.
Does my cardio suck?
Yeah.
Is my boxing technique on point? You hold me accountable. These kids, if I go into work hungover or not sleeping well, or maybe I'm fighting with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I go to work, it shows in how I talk to the kids and how I react to the kids.
Yep.
And they hold me fucking accountable. And I think that has helped my EQ go up a lot in terms of patience. What we were talking about earlier, patience. And I almost don't want to call it wisdom, but wisdom. Yeah, world experience and learning how to bring that together with patience to form one entity that can serve other people. And I think that was a great example of what these kind of skills can do. But these children challenge me so much every day, right? They challenge me so much every day. That kid's mad. Fuck, I got to figure out why. And if I can't figure out why, I still have to figure out what to do to counter the anger.
Yeah.
So that class can move forward and that kid can move forward and I can move forward. Because as long as that kid is angry, I'm going to be distracted by his anger and class is not going to flow smoothly.
Of course.
I have to have everybody on board.
Yep.
Right?
And the approach of just shouting at this kid will do nothing.
Right. I tried that for like the first 3 to 5 months of the job. They got mad. I got madder.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you know what I mean? You're beating a dead horse there, as you would say.
Yeah.
But empathy is like a thing. It's like, from what I've read, women are supposed to have more empathy than men.
Right.
I can see that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if I've always had empathy. I've been judged for not having empathy.
like I said again, it's easier to, I think, a lot of the times it's easier to have empathy for people or situations when you've experienced that situation yourself before.
Totally.
I think that's sometimes I'd like to try and give you an example of that, but I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's like,
I keep thinking about books like A Man's Search for Meaning or A Thousand Splendid Suns or The Kite Runner. When we read books that heart-wrenching, I think you develop empathy for the character. And then in real life, if you see somebody that's suffering, maybe your mind might subconsciously go back to that book.
Right off the bat, like A Thousand Splendid Suns,
Right, those girls.
my heart was ripped in two. But again, I grew up in an environment where I seen a lot of stuff like that. I seen stuff like that and I experienced stuff like that at a young age. So I automatically have empathy for a situation like that. Like if you grew up with a single mother who was struggling to bring you up, you know what I mean, and make ends meet. Well, there you go. There you go, right? So my example of that is that if you see a single mother or you read about a single mother in one of these books that's going through struggles like that, you can instantly identify with it because you experienced that growing up yourself.
Right.
Whereas if somebody didn't, they grew up in a privileged household with everything they wanted, mommy and daddy both there, they can't empathize with that situation. They might think they can really, but they didn't experience that, so their connection to that is like and that's not always the case. I can't say that's always the case because there's people that don't have AIDS and they went to other countries to help people with AIDS and help people, you know what I mean, recover, or any examples like that. But a lot of the time I find for myself, it's like, okay, when I've experienced something like that myself, a hardship or whatever is like that, and then I come across somebody that's experiencing the same thing, I can empathize with them on a much higher level than if I hadn't experienced that myself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend has said this to me about different things, like where I wouldn't really have huge empathy for a certain situation. And she'd be like, well, you don't understand. And then I might experience something similar to that. And then I'll be like, fuck, now I understand. Now I have empathy for that because I've experienced it.
That's wisdom, too.
I don't know.
Because the longer you live, the more things you see, the more things you experience. And the bigger your empathy gets, the more it transforms into a wider understanding of the world. And that is wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. So
that's why people change with age. Not all people. We are, I think, I hope.
John Wayne Gacy didn't. Jeffrey Dahmer didn't. Fuck.
Didn't.
Ted Bundy didn't.
Well, Ed Gein, when he got in the mental hospital, he was a picture perfect fucking patient.
He had psychological issues that needed addressing.
Dude, I think once he got in the hospital, he was totally served. He got everything he needed. He needed love. He needed attention. He needed care and food. I have empathy for him.
I had a number of people, Yank. For anyone who's listening, we've done an Ed Gein special for Halloween. He's the man who inspired the Silence of the Lambs character, Buffalo Bill, Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I had quite a few people message me and call me and say that they laughed their ass off when you said you admired him. And then I was just like, I shut you down straight away and went like, anybody that admires anyone like that is sick as them. And then you moved on from the topic, which I thought was fine. But I had a few people say that to me. I didn't even pick it out or notice it in the podcast when I was listening to it or editing it. It wasn't something big to me. Just like you said something and I responded to it, but people found it kind of funny.
I've always admired him and like
Well,
just what he did. And
okay, I'm gonna shoot you down again.
It's fine. I'm gonna segue this shit. But like just dressing up as someone that you're not, and like the clown makeup that I wear every year on Halloween, I love it because you get to become anonymous.
Yeah, wait a second. Wait a second. You're Ed Gein murdered people. Ed Gein went to graveyards, dug up bodies, cut off parts of them, and made a human suit out of skin.
That's just interesting.
What would you admire? That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm fascinated by serial killers. I'm fascinated by true crime, but I don't admire any of these fucking people.
Well, the process of all that was just interesting.
Admiration's the wrong word to use, I think. If maybe you're a psychopath, I don't fucking know. Maybe you're a psychopath with no empathy, and you're really expressing to me how you feel about this.
We talked about the id, the ego, and the super ego, and one of those is the barbarian inside us. And I would say there's definitely a barbarian inside of me, but I have enough of conscientious, I think is the right word, to know that I cannot act on these barbaric thoughts. But does the barbarian dwell inside? 100%. Do I let him do anything? No.
Okay, to say you admire.
He hibernates.
Okay, to say you admire someone that killed a young woman and cuts her up like a deer and then wears her skin. To say you admire that, what about that do you admire?
Okay, let me try to choose my words carefully and then get back to topic.
Yeah.
Number one, I empathize with the poor guy. Number two, found what he did to be interesting. As far as we know, nothing like it's ever happened again. I think the effect it had on culture was quite interesting, and a lot of amazing things came as a result of it. Movies that I like, and I like fear and terror and things that represent death, because to me, they allow some form of liberation to be experienced. I get it from Slipknot, I get it from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that the amount of fear and terror has been elevated to such a level that you are free from the real pains of life.
So you admire...
I admire freedom.
His freedom to kill people and butcher them and wear their skin, or his freedom to dig up bodies and mutilate bodies. Like, what's the
I think
the word admiration I think is the wrong word that you used.
That's why I just reworded it.
Yeah.
Into using interest.
Yeah, like I said again, fascinated. I'm fascinated by these shows too, but I don't admire anyone like that causes unnecessary pain and suffering to
I feel
other
a little
people.
bad for him, but
Look. When you told the Ed Gein story at the start, I could fully empathize with the guy. At the start of the story, when his mother, his father, his upbringing was terrible, but then as soon as I found out about his crimes and what he'd done, I was like, my empathy for him. I still had a bit of empathy because I guess he was created. He was created by his environment. From what you told me in the story, it sounded like he was molded from his environment through his mother's psychotic religion that she was forcing on him.
Such a scary thing.
That was crazy.
She's the one that I really hate.
Well, do you know what I mean? So I did feel empathy, and I liked how you done that podcast, and you brought that out at the start, and then you told at the end what he had ended up becoming and done. So,
yeah, but it's almost like he didn't really know what he was doing was so wrong.
Well, in a
it's
way,
almost like he didn't know what he was doing.
Well, I guess he seemed like he had a lot of psychiatric problems.
I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer knew what he was doing.
Oh, he did. He's straight out admitted it.
I don't think Ed Gein did.
Same with John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy. They straight out admitted, I was fucking well aware of what I was doing, But Ed Gein, maybe, he's a different. But I could not admire the man. I don't admire anything you've done. What did he do that's admirable?
We're gonna have to do a whole other podcast on admiration.
Okay.
What kind of people do you admire?
I
admire Kevin Ney. He invigorates me.
Yeah, Kevin Ney. Big shout out to Kevin Ney.
We
might get Kevin Ney on this podcast.
I've been confused all week with pain, sorrow, and suffering, and only he explained my own experiences to me in such a way that I was able to understand why everything happened to me.
Okay, well, Kevin Ney is the guy that's be out there on that tractor with his dog. I don't know if he called the dog Kissy or Sissy or Hissy or... But
it might be Kissy.
He sent a few videos into the podcast before, and he's a regular weekly listener. So maybe we can get him on here someday for a chat. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. All right. Let's go back to the topic at hand. Anyways, anybody who listened to the Ed Gein podcast is gonna love that.
Wasn't even the fucking topic.
They're gonna love that little segment. I never even talk. We talk about that again.
So yeah, if you don't mind. Do you have anything else?
Nothing, Your Honor.
At that party, there was one more thing. I totally connected with this person.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And in the moment, it was quite unexplainable. Just a lot of deep conversations about life, perhaps death, growth, change. Yeah, 'cause those are really the most important things and the most difficult things to understand in life, I think. What did I say? Death, growth
and
change.
Yeah.
Those are the hardest things to digest in fucking life.
Yeah.
And I think I like talking about those things because they're always on my mind, perhaps, or they're complex topics. And when somebody brings that shit up, it invigorates me. And what does that even mean? I used that word recently without even really knowing what it meant.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Invigorate means to like make you feel refreshed, make you feel
Right.
Yeah.
I used it without even knowing that. I thought it meant like energize. But
it can mean that too.
But what it actually implies is that you previously lacked something and are now being provided with something you previously didn't have, right?
Okay.
And I didn't realize that until I talked to Kevin.
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt at that time. And I think it was the lack of social attention and connection, being noticed, being acknowledged, and being valued by other people in a social setting.
Okay.
And apparently I've been craving it for some time, reconnecting with people and going out there. Because like I said, I'm a social butterfly. Also a wild tiger. A tiger fly.
A tiger fly.
And I got out there and I got some of my very important needs met. And it was such a powerful experience I didn't even understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually perplexed by it. I was confused by it. I was confused by my feelings, by why I felt such ecstasy.
Were you also taking ecstasy?
No comment. I plead the fifth.
Overruled. So you felt a sense of ecstasy.
In more ways than one.
Well, you didn't get ripped off, anyways. You didn't get taken for a ride.
So it just led to a week of emotional confusion, kind of like, where do I belong and why did I get such feelings? Mm-hmm. But I think after talking to Mr. Nay last night, it's all about these needs that we have and making sure that they're getting met. And that's a pretty hard thing to do if you don't even know what your fucking needs are.
Of course.
Right? Like your needs are clearly being met, as you say.
Well,
in terms of your social life.
I'm content.
You're content.
Yeah.
You have a handful of friends. Go home, like spending lots of time alone. You're cool as a cucumber.
Or with my girlfriend, I spend a lot more time with her now, and the dog. We got a dog,
Yeah.
which I think was a good introduction. You know,
Yeah.
it softened me up a little bit. Not made me as fucking cold-hearted and stone-faced. You know,
the dog or the girl?
Well, the dog has helped me with the girl. You know, because like you said, I'm not the most, what's the word? The sweetest person in the world. Yeah. Well, I'm not the sweetest person in the world, and I'm not the softest person in the world, but a dog can do that for me. You know, a dog can bring me down there, and it's like I've always had a huge connection with dogs, like I said, and animals, and more so over children or even humans for the most part. But so that's been good at softening me up.
Huh.
You know?
So my dad was a hard man. He got a Chihuahua, softened him up. You were a hard man.
That's funny.
You got a dog, softened you up.
Yeah.
I was a hard man. I started teaching kindergarten, and I think that softened me up.
There you go.
Maybe most men, and definitely on a cultural, societal level, are expected to be hard, and maybe even taught and encouraged to be hard.
Oh, absolutely. From where I grew up, that's like I said. We talked about this before, the toxic masculinity, and like, I'm a man. I can't show my emotions. I got to be tough. I got to be hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't laugh around certain people or in certain situations because I got to show my toughness. But it's like when you have something like that, like you said, a dog. You get a dog, a little puppy, or you know, you said you're teaching kids, and you can be like, you can almost be childlike again.
Yeah.
And just not have any like. You don't care about anything around you. I'm not playing with the dog. I don't give a damn about anything that's going on around me. I'm wrestling with the dog and having fun, and the dog's happy, and it's like, yeah,
it's toxic masculinity medicine.
There you go.
Buy it now.
Buy it now from Paddy and the Yank online store, Amazon. We sell puppies. We sell kittens. But we don't sell them with guarantees. So, But that's very true. That's very true what you said there.
Yeah,
I
we
think-
all need to find a way to be softened up. I think that festival softened me up by like helping the girl that was puking, then helping the girl that was tripping, and then another one sort of helping me. All those things softened me up unbelievably. But I guess reminded me who I am a little bit. You know, that I'm an empathetic person, that I like to go out, that I like to be around people, that I like to connect. I like to inspire. I like to be inspired. I like to help. I like to be helped when I need it because we're social creatures.
I can tell you something there that you just said that is one little thing I feel I'm missing out on since I haven't been so social in the last few years is inspiration. Like I get a lot of when I write or something like that, it's a lot of the times it's come from a conversation I heard, or if we were sitting around having a drink or a smoke or whatever's like that, and 9 out of 10 times there'll be just someone will say something or tell a story that's just brilliant. And I'm like, I will go home then and I will write that down, or I'll write remnants of what I remember hearing down and I'll turn that into a story or turn that into something. And it's just, I feel like that's been lost since I've been less social. I've lost a bit of my...
Because that has to be the result almost of meeting strangers.
It comes from the people around that you meet around, yeah. You know, even from meeting you or Ned for the first time and stuff like that, like, I knew you were interested in people for sure. That's for sure, you know, just by the way you dress and stuff, and it's like, you know what I mean, tattoo covered and whatever. So I've definitely got inspiration from both of you because, you know, you'll tell me things or say stuff. It could be even just in passing conversation, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty smart, or that's pretty knowledgeable, or that's pretty wise, and I'll be like, that's interesting.
Right,
I might not
think the same thing.
I might not address it in the moment, or I might not ever address it, meaning to the person, but I'll be like, that's cool, or I like their way. I like their way of how they dealt with that situation, or how they seem to carry themselves. So I like to do stuff that
Sometimes you internalize little aspects of other people and you don't tell them, right? But you do internalize something they said.
Of course. So I think that in that way, that's a good way to be able to grow, and that's why we are social creatures in a way, you know?
Yeah.
So if I can get just a little bit more hits of that, you know, and keep myself to myself as well.
I see what you're saying though. Like I had that so Monday we don't have any water here in my house. Tuesday we don't have any water here. I'm brushing my teeth at work.
Yeah.
And then we tell the landlord quite a few times. The landlord comes over pissed off, yelling at me for messaging him to fix my water. I got in trouble.
The hell?
It's silly. My girlfriend said that she thinks they're lazy scum and they just don't like fixing things, which would have been fine if they told us from the get.
Yeah.
You know, hey, here's this house, really cheap, but you got to fix everything yourself. If that would have been the case, that would have been cool. Instead of complaining every time you have to come fix something.
Right.
Either way, so we finally got the water back. The old man comes in my house 11 o'clock at night while I'm naked, yelling at me.
The landlord?
Yep. Which is illegal.
Okay.
And then the next day, I invite them over because I want to clear the air. No matter what, I just want to clear the air because this is my home and it needs to be a safe place. I go buy some muffins, my favorite muffins.
Yeah.
Give them some muffins, invite them over, and she shows up, the wife, but not the husband.
Yes.
And then quickly just my girlfriend and her talk. And I'm kind of excluded from the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember, but I couldn't get in the conversation, but I could tell nothing was going well. I could just feel it.
Yep.
So I never gave her the muffins. Plus, I really wanted the husband to come because the husband was the person that was kind of aggressive with me. And so I wanted them both to come. I wanted them to sit down. I wanted to offer them these muffins as a peace offering and say, hey, I'm sorry for any sort of misunderstanding. Let's just move forward. I hope there's no bad feelings. I hope you're not angry.
Yep.
You know, but that felt like the opportunity wasn't offered. So they left. And then she told me, they said, we can only stay till the end of our contract, then we have to leave. We can even leave sooner if we want to.
So
that broke my heart.
What went down in this conversation and why?
Don't really know. Just talking about the misunderstanding and how her husband's an asshole and blah, 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 blah. Okay. She was saying that.
Okay.
About her own husband.
Yeah.
But basically they said that we cannot re-sign after this year is up. And this place is so beautiful. I love this house so much.
Yeah,
I've never felt. I was like, man, I want to stay here for several years. This place, I love it. I have big open, like my living room. The wall is actually windows to outside, so it's constant sunlight.
Yep.
I feel so free. It's so good for my mental health. And then I was just told I have to leave within the next 8 months. It broke my heart. I crumbled. She crumbled. We both crumbled. And I really had, I really had an existential crisis on top of an already existing existential crisis. And that was a really hard thing to deal with. And the next day, I realized how sad and hopeless I felt. I went to work, and right when I walked into work, I was already sort of crying. And my one little kid just ran up and squeezed me. And I was like, once again, like I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And then I kept trying to teach, but I was just an emotional mess. And a couple hours later, I was playing a game with all the kids where you like got to put the matching puzzle pieces together. And all of a sudden, the little boy next to me, I'm like, hurry up, man. It's almost lunchtime. Like, come on, Grandpa. And he looks at me and he's like, I can't find the pieces. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And then I just started, and then me and him, both, he's like 3 years old. Yeah. We both just cried and held each other. And I was like, I'm a damn mess, man. I'm a fucking mess.
Holy hell. Man.
And then one of my coworkers came in, he saw me and he's like, oh, come here, man. And then he gave me a
holy shit. Man.
Bit the mic stand.
Shit.
And then I came home after work and I started reading the last lecture. And he gets diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he's got 3 months to live, and he's about to die. Yes. And he's trying to get his wife and 3 kids where they need to be before he dies.
Randy Pausch.
I was like, holy shit, I can't imagine putting that together. And then I was talking to somebody. I was talking to my girlfriend. Yep. And I thought, death. Death is always my answer. Every day I think, if I go to sleep tonight and I don't wake up tomorrow, am I okay? Am I okay with my last day?
I ask myself this question quite often.
Everybody should ask themselves this question every day if they can remember to. It's easy to forget. And I said, man, if I died tonight feeling sad and hopeless, I would have so much fucking regret. The reason I'm always okay dying is because I know I'm always doing my best. And I'm always doing things that make me feel happy and that serve me. You know, whether it be meditating, headstands, working on my book, reading a book, working on something, watching something that I like.
Yep.
I always enjoy what I'm doing. And I always think, universe, if you need to take me, all good. I won't be mad at you. But had I been mad that day, or had I died that day, man, I would have felt embarrassed and regretful. And so, as soon as I realized that, I flipped the script.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, universe, please don't take me for at least another 60 years because I don't want to die. But I do often, like I said, just get the thought in my head, if I was to die today, get hit by a car, hit by a bus, am I content with the life that I've lived? Am I okay with the life I've lived? And I'm absolutely 100% okay with the life I've lived.
Right, me too.
I've wanted to do things, I've done them.
Yeah.
I've taken risks, I've pursued the things that I've wanted to pursue. Yeah. I'm not financially fucking well off or anything, far fucking from it.
Same.
But I hope to live as much of a fulfilled and content life for however long left I have to live. And I think, like you said earlier there, that people should think this as much as they can.
Absolutely.
Just every day, just once think, if my life was to end now, or my life was to end tomorrow, am I okay with the life that I lived? Am I content with what I've done? Because there's so many people that have regrets, or that have like, I wish I had done that thing I wanted to do, or I wish I had tried that, or I wish I this, or I hope that. And you're alive right now if you're listening to this, aren't you?
Yeah, but if your answer is no, I think there might be more questions that need to be asked, right?
Of course.
Because if your question's just like, no, I'd feel terrible if I died tonight, and then boom, you just get depressed.
Well, there you go. But you got to ask yourself then why.
Right, exactly.
That's the question then. Why would you? Why, if you were told you're going to die tomorrow, and you weren't content with the life you lived, why is that?
I think the first thing I'd ask myself is, what do I want? What do I love? Like real quick, what do I want? What do I want right now? Or hopefully it wouldn't be heroin. Like hopefully it would be like, I want to get in my car that I don't have, and drive straight to the tallest mountain in Taiwan and climb straight to the top or something like that. And like if I have like one day to live, like I think I can do that.
Well, what you brought up the book there, The Last Lecture, which I've read. I think I've read it once and I'm reading it again.
Dope.
I'm actually halfway through it again.
Really?
Yeah, I'm halfway through the last. It's beside my bed. That and Ego is the Enemy are beside my bed. I'm rereading them again because I thought there was a lot of knowledge in both books.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's listening that doesn't know the book, The Last Lecture, it was written by a guy called Randy Pausch. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correct. You can go onto YouTube and you can actually watch him doing his last lecture. He was a professor in virtual reality, I believe, in a university in in America. I think they called it something Mellon. I can't remember the name of the university. Sorry, but
Water.
Watermelon. No, I can't remember the name of it. But he gets told one day that you have like 12 tumors on your lungs. You're done. You have 3 months to live. There's nothing we can do for you. There's absolutely nothing. You're going to die. He's only, I think, like in his early 40s. Like he's a pretty young.
He's 45, the same as this episode.
Too young. That's pretty.
I think
that's
so.
a coincidence. But he's got 2 young kids, like he said, a wife. They were planning to move in house, and how he accepted that for me was what blew my mind about the book. How he accepted, okay, this is the time I have left. This is what I'm going to do with my time. I just thought it was brilliant. And what the last lecture is that it's common in universities in America for a professor to give a last lecture imagining that it would be his last lecture he'll ever give because he's going to die, and what life lessons he could, what life lessons or whatever he wants to put across in this last lecture. Now, Randy Pausch is dying of cancer, and he decides to do a last lecture, which is legitimately going to be a real last lecture.
Right.
And you can watch it on YouTube. It was recorded, but I won't go too much into it to ruin the book for anybody, but I thought it was brilliant. I really thought, like, he done it on achieving your dreams, wasn't it?
Childhood dreams.
What
are
dreams.
What are your childhood dreams? And
how to achieve them.
I kind of want to come back to this more in the future on another podcast, but I was like, man, my childhood dreams. I'd really have to sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and really figure out what those were.
I know what mine were.
I know they've changed.
And what they are.
Really?
I've achieved quite a few of my childhood dreams. I won't go into any details, but I have. I've achieved a lot of my... Think about it. This is great. Today is the 5th of November. In 20 days, there's a movie coming out in Taiwan, in the movie theaters, all over Taiwan, and it's an action movie. And I'm in this action movie. And one of my childhood dreams was to be in an action movie. When I used to watch Jean-Claude Van Damme, fucking Bruce Willis, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, I always like, man, I'd love to be in a movie.
One of my childhood dreams was to direct an action movie.
Well, go and do it. You know what I mean? The people that wrote and directed this movie, I was chatting with the director and his wife now, and I was asked them, like, what, how the fuck did you guys get this off the ground? You seem pretty young, and they said we were big into movies, we're big movie heads. He had been involved in another movie before, or a documentary, successful documentary, and whatever. And they said we sat down and wrote the movie, and we thought, this is good, let's go and finance it. They went and they financed it, and they just started making it, and they put it together, and they've done it. And it's like, it's that easy. It can be that easy. I don't know if the movie's going to be any good or not. It's in Chinese for the most part. I have a small role in a bit of a fight scene, but
it's going to be in the theaters, right?
Theater, Showtime cinemas all over here. And
well, fuck, that's good enough.
I have a friend in Taichung, and he sent me a video like 2 days ago, and it was a short clip, and I'm in one of the previews for the movie, and he's like, who's this guy? He was going to the cinema, and I was like, oh, that's that Irish movie action star. You don't know him. But yeah, so that was one small thing, and just, you know what I mean?
You're right. Well, I guess this book could possibly give me that opportunity, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
100%.
So childhood dreams, no matter how silly they are. I know in the book he quotes Walt Disney because he worked there.
Yes.
And he says, if you can dream it, you can do it.
Yeah, and William Shatner. He's got a bit in the book about William Shatner.
I didn't get there yet.
It's very interesting. There's a part in that book where William Shatner goes to visit him, and he comments on William Shatner as a person and his behavior, and I've never forgot what he said about William Shatner, and I try to keep that in my mind to this day. I try to use that.
You're killing me now. I kind of want to know.
I'm not going to tell you. You'll read it. You'll know when you read it how he describes William Shatner's just his way, or the way about him. And I was like, that's fucking great. That's a great way to be. And I say this many times to people. When people say, oh, you think you know everything, or people say stuff like that to me, and it's like, I give them a certain response that I've given them years ago. And I read it in this book, and I was like, it's similar to how I think and how I thought. And I was like, that's cool. I like that. I admire that. And I share a little bit of that. So I was like, I got to try to get more of that. So,
inspiration from people.
There you go.
Yeah.
You want to tie it up there?
Well, yeah. Losing this house really broke my heart. But and you can't always control, as Viktor Frankl said, you can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you respond.
Mm-hmm.
You can only control your reaction. And so, I don't know. I hope our listeners got the message from that little story. But, when the universe, or the world, or life, or whatever is throwing you things that you don't expect, that are confusing you, you don't always have to believe yourself, but you should listen to yourself. And it helps even more if you get a piece of paper and a pencil and write that shit down and try to make some sense of it. And if that doesn't help, that's when you call a very wise friend that helps you put the pieces together so you can have a podcast about it.
There you go. Or as they say, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah, that's the easy way to put it.
All right, you know what? We're going to leave that one there today, short and sweet. Hope you got something from that episode. And please like, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast, comment on the podcast. If you like what we're talking about, just let us know. You know what I mean? This helps us grow the podcast. We do this every week. This is episode 45. We haven't missed a single Tuesday since we started this podcast.
45. I bet more 45 will be some serious badasses.
You know? So it shows you our dedication to what we do. We love what we do with this podcast. We love doing it, and we hope you love listening to it. Today we're going to leave you with a bit of instrumental music from none other than our good friend Ninja Ned.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you very much.